This video is sponsored by PelucidFX.com. Hi, this is Sive Morten with the daily update on EuroFX. I post my exclusive market overviews with the key political and economical events, charts and important levels on the ForexPeaceArmy.com forums weekly. This short video is a response to rapidly changing situation on the currency markets and should help you to stay on top of the game and be profitable. I suggest you to visit ForexPeaceArmy.com forum and read my analysis for the week before watching this daily video. Greetings everybody, let's discuss the situation on the gold market. Well, on the daily time frame, in fact, we see almost the same setup that it was on Friday, but still we have some new moments that could help us much in the Monday and beginning of the new week. So particularly speaking, this is the pivot points. So we see that in general we see the bearish development. So first of all, we see a nice thrust down, really strong move. Now market has turned to the retracement. It's forming the candles with the small bodies with the long shadows on the upside and downside, the typical retracement behavior, and this looks like the bearish flag. Well, as we have discussed previously, currently we can't count on some really deep move to the downside and significant continuation, some unlimited target somewhere below the market. Because if we will apply here the classical target estimation way for a flag, so we should take the mass and count it to the downside, we will get rather extended target. But recall that we have said previously that market stands at oversold on the weekly time frame and on the monthly time frame. And particularly for the daily time frame, it means that we could take the short positions, but we should take the profit if we will be wrong, if we will be right and market really continue to move down at the previous lows. It's right here. So that's around 1320 area. Also on the coming week, that will be also the weekly pivot support one. Now market stands at a resistance. We have discussed this moment on Friday as well. As you can see, this is the 50% resistance of that candle, strong candle, and all the 50% of such strong candles, rather significant level to watch for. That is coincide with the 3.8 resistance 1424 from that whole swing down. And take a look. Market should open somewhere around weekly pivot point. Hence, as usual, we could use the weekly pivot point to estimate the sentiment on the market as early as it will be possible on Monday, because depending on how market will behave around the pivot point will let us to understand what to expect. If market will test the weekly pivot point and fail and turn to the downside, then we will get more confidence with our short position. If you have taken one on Friday, as we discussed, if market will fail, test pivot and turns to the upside, well, in this case, probably that will be the warning sign for the bearish position, and that could mean some further continuation to the upside. You can see that 618 resistance 1487 stands very close to the weekly pivot resistance one. So that's why in the beginning of the week, the weekly pivot will be significant and quite important. On the 4-hour time frame, we see our development that we also have discussed on Friday and said, as market stands at the target of this ABCD pattern right on the upper border of the flag, and that is also the resistance, why we should not take in the short position? Because small or significant, probably some respect will follow to this area, and that has happened. So you can see market shows some small pullback from this area, and what is more interesting is that here we have nice looking evening star pattern. Another moment to keep in mind is that you can see that CD leg of that pattern is flatter than AB leg, because theoretically the perfect ABCD pattern should finish in this area, but you can see that it has finished much later, and that usually increases the odds of appearing of the resistance and appearing of the retracement from that area. Besides, the evening star pattern gives us significant assistance in estimating of our invalidation point. So until this pattern holds and market stands below this high, that is 1425 area, this pattern still works and still intact, and that suggests that further downward action is possible. But as market will take out of these highs and will erase this pattern, move above the weekly pivot point, that will be the warning sign for the bearish position. That could mean that will be just slightly retracement, slightly respect of this completion point of this ABCD pattern. That's in general moments to watch for. So if you have entered short here, as we have suggested, you can tighten your stop, because now we have the clear pattern to watch for. Okay, if you do not enter short, then watch how market will behave around the weekly pivot point. If it will test it and continue to move down, well, ultimately we should get the target around previous lows, but market could stop at some other pattern, maybe somewhere inside this flag. On the hourly time frame, we see another possible confirmation of our expectation of downward action. First of all, here we have the bearish butterfly that has been completed. It's 1618 extension, and take a look. That could turn to the head and shoulders pattern. Very often the butterflies become the part of the head and shoulders pattern. This very often happens, and we even have the article in our Forex Military School that is dedicated to particularly these moments when we have discussed the trading of the head and shoulders patterns. But here we have the completed butterfly, we have the potential head and shoulders pattern. And that is the pattern to watch for if you would like to enter short. When I speak about some intermediate target that market probably will not reach it with this low, well, I mean this potential target of the head and shoulders pattern. So that could be just, for instance, ABCD pattern from the head and the right shoulder. So ABCD move to the downside. That's also possible. Well, that's the patrons that we should stick with in the beginning of the next week. So that's been said, just a small conclusion of our analysis. But first of all, we have bearish patterns that now in progress. Some of them are completed, some of them are still in progress. So we have to keep an eye on them. And the second moment, very significant, is keeping an eye on how market will behave around the weekly pivot point right in the Monday open. Because you can see that market will probably open very close to the weekly pivot point. If market will move above it and taking out of these highs, then probably we should not enter short. Market will probably continue to move up. But if we'll test the pivot point, we'll form some sort of the right shoulder here and continue to move down. That could lead the continuation, and ultimately the target is 1320, but maybe it will be a bit more shallow, some kind of the downward ABC action. That the patterns that we should be focused on and to watch for on the Monday trading session.